So we're back. I don't count episodes. I don't even know what episode this is. Lemons to Lemonade podcast, but this is a really special one. I feel very honored today. We have Mr. Major Williams here in the house at Bada Fulkerson, here to talk about his run for the governor of California. We are getting really close to the recall numbers. What, we need 100,000?
No, under 70,000.
70,000 votes, and we got a month and a half left. And that's a big reason why I wanted to do this podcast, because we got to get that other 70. And I'm pushing people, everyone that I meet on the streets, I'm telling them to recall, sign the recall ballot. So again, if you're watching this right now, first things first, please make sure that you've signed the recall petition. We need change in this state. We need choice in this state. This state is not being run the right way. I'm very disappointed with the leadership. And that's why I wanted to sit down with Major, because I really like what you stand for. And I want to get right into it because I know your time is very valuable. I'll tell you, I when I started following you, I looked at your basic political lines, and I basically, saw that you are in line very much, fiscally conservative like I am. But you also believe in a lot of the freedoms that I think that have been stripped away in this state and in our country, and you're against that. But the thing that got me about you is I listened to a podcast where you were talking about hitting rock bottom.
Yeah.
And I want you to give a little bit of insight, because you did something that was remarkable to me. You were in a rough spot in your life, or a spot you didn't want to be in, and you realized that the only person that was going to be able to pull you out of that spot was yourself. And you locked yourself in a library for 2 years, every single day, reading every book, economics, history, whatever you could find, just educating yourself. And you came out of that library a different man.
Yeah.
And that takes a lot of fortitude to, one, have the self-awareness to realize that you need to work on yourself, and two, to actually do it.
Right.
How'd you find yourself there?
To be honest with you, so I was at an interesting crossroads, because I've always been pride myself on being a student. And so during that process, before I hit rock bottom, I was learning from a lot of different online mentors on YouTube and things of that nature. But once that actually happened, I had the self-awareness to look in the mirror, look at my predicament, and take full accountability for my actions. And one thing that could really spark a person is being embarrassed. And that moment when it hit me, I was embarrassed that I wasn't the man that I need to be for my wife. I wasn't the man or person I need to be for my son at the time. And I have 3 sons now, and I had 1 at that particular time. And for me, that was extremely gut-wrenching, embarrassing, because who I was then is not how I psychologically saw myself. So I was a fraud to myself.
Yep.
And that in itself could have sent me down 2 different lanes. One, I could have continued on that journey, or the other one, I would have to make a really tough decision. And my wife, I give her all the credit, because I actually shedded myself and went to her and told her exactly who I was, what I was experiencing, what I was going through. And at that time, she drugged me kicking and screaming out of California, out of LA, and we moved to Pasadena, California. Now, mind you, I'm coming from a place where I had like nice things and things were going good, but I walked away from everything. And we're living in the back of somebody's house, 400 square feet, little tiny little one, and three of us. And for the first 2 weeks, I'm just scratching my head. I'm embarrassed. I don't want to get seen. I'm not on social media. And then something just clicked, because even during that time, while she's at work and I'm watching my son at the time, I'm looking at YouTube videos of people like Gary Vaynerchuk, Grant Cardone, Les Brown, these different inspirational people, right? And then after 2 weeks, man, I said, you know what? This is not it for me. And I got tired of my life, and any kind of success that I would possibly have relied on another man telling me yes. So I wanted to find some kind of independence and build something of my own, because what I learned from Jamie Foxx, we had a conversation one day, and he said, just be cautious, because California and Hollywood is a land of the fast yes and the slow no. And the slow no is what a lot of people get caught up in. The slow no is, oh, I got you. Oh, yeah, I got you. We're going to do it in time. Oh, we got to map it out. We got to figure it out. But when they really want to do it, so I'm going to come. Like when you hit me up, there was no slow no. Oh, what time? Let's figure it out. I'll be there.
Immediately.
Right?
Yeah.
That's the real acknowledgement I was looking for. And so in order to do that, even though I told you how it played out, I didn't know that that's what I was going to do.
Yeah.
Be in a library 2 years straight, 7 days a week.
Yep.
And what happened the first 3 days, I hadn't read books in like a long time. But starting to read those random books, it started to open up something, a different energy, a different enthusiasm. And I felt like I had ownership because what I was retaining in my mind was mine.
Yep.
It was absolutely mine. It just gave me a good feeling. And so I started going every single day and randomly reading all kinds of books on finance, as you said, history, the art of public speaking, advertising, sales, documentaries, historical stuff. And sometimes, to be honest, I was skimming stuff, but because I was just on those topics, it gave me, more information about it. And I share this because I knew one thing. The average American today, you probably heard the statistic, reads 0.5 books a year.
Yep.
So if I read 5 books on one subject, I am now the professional.
Yep.
I could turn that into something. So it all started just figuring out what I was good at, what I wanted to do, go through the process of elimination and figuring out what I want to do. So I just said, you know what? I need to go and reprogram myself. I need to re-educate myself. And as you said, I spent 7 days a week, every single day in the library for 2 years. And once I came out, I created Major Media Inc. 2 months later, I had 20 accounts, paying me $1,000 a month for 6-month contracts and making 20 grand a month.
You know what else it says a lot about? Your wife.
Yes, my best friend.
She let you lock yourself in that library 7 days a week, and she held it down while you were there and didn't ask questions, had faith in you that you'd come out the other side.
And people ask her the questions all the time. She said, this guy I've seen him. We've been together 21 years. She said, I've seen this guy. He is not one of those guys that's going to sit on the couch and play video games. He is going to figure it out. He's a hard worker, and he likes working. And so she knew that about me already.
Yep.
I just had to figure it out. It was a new situation for me. And, so I'm appreciative of her all the time, man.
It's amazing. And I mean, your family, everyone who follows you, everyone's gotten to know you. You're a true family man. Like,
I love it.
Your boys come with you. Like, I watched you walk warehouses. Like, you're teaching them life through your campaign.
Oh, 100%.
Which 100%. Is amazing. That has to be quite of an experience with you as a dad.
For me, it's quite of an experience, but it's an emotional thing that's attached to it too, though. I don't know my father. I met him once when I was 6 years old. And, you either turn out 2 ways. You end up being a duplicate of that type of person when you become an adult and have kids. Or like me, you go times 1,000 and try to be the best dad and the husband and the individual person for your kids and family. And so for me, it's educational, but it's also making sure that I'm a driving force in their life, because the 2 most important things in my life, I always say this, so if you follow me, you probably already heard it. The first thing that's most important to me is what my 3 sons are going to say about me when it's all said and done at my eulogy.
Yep.
That matters to me.
Yep.
The second thing is that value that I add to the world while I'm here, my legacy. What was I able to produce? How many smiles, how many good gestures, how many memories I left with people all over. And those are the most important things. I'm 43, I'll be 44 in a couple months. And that's just what my mindset and my heart is at this point.
I got to ask the biggest question, because a lot of people look at politics now and they're like, why on earth in a sane mind would you enter that forum and deal with all the BS that comes with it, the time away from your family? What made you take that step? What made you put yourself out? I mean, we're in a very blue state.
Yeah. I think I use multiple analogies when it comes to this. Sometimes I just think about, once we were talking about the first plane being flown, right? And just to think about that conversation of what a plane, when you think ideally only birds fly, right?
Yep.
But someone had to have that vision and that idea, right? The other thing is, why politics is that it's kind of like asking a boxer, why do you box? Some of them would tell you because I don't mind getting hit and I like fighting. Politics for me has always been a part of my life. I just haven't been a part of the actual industry. Surviving the projects, surviving, business, the Hollywood entertainment, it's all been politics. They just reserve it for that particular industry.
Yep.
Everyone is playing politics every day in their lives. But at some point you have to say, why not? And enough is enough. And that's kind of like the place that I'm at right now. I couldn't continue to sit on the sidelines and not see people that I didn't relate to. And I've heard the conversations, and it's not about just not black or anything. It's just relatable,
Yeah.
relatable to like the majority of just the normal people that exist that are being governing over.
Yeah.
I just didn't see it. So um, the story goes, this wasn't, I'm gonna run for governor and I just did it. Like I actually got championed to do this based upon what I did.
Because you're only 189 days in.
Yes.
Like 189
Yes.
days, and you've already made this kind of wave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is the fastest rising candidacy, especially for a Republican in most recent history.
Can I tell you why I think that?
Yes.
I don't really find myself in agreement with either party these days.
Yeah.
I just think the two-party system's broken, right?
Yeah.
Like it's so political that it's two wings of the same bird, right? You don't fall, to me, into a party line, right? Like you represent the Republican Party, but you're not just, I'm going to do this because it's what the Republican Party would do, right?
Oh,
like
yeah.
You are very much a free thinking, hey, let's look at this. Let's have a conversation on both sides. And I think that's what we need.
Right.
We need that bridge to be able to be rebuilt, because if we stay where we're at with a divided nation,
Right.
and they, don't get me wrong, they want us divided.
Yeah.
And if we stay that way, we will never fix this state.
Absolutely. And that's something I recognize very early on. But the beautiful part about what I represent is that I didn't have to create a character. This is just who I've always been. I always thought it was silly that we can't come together and figure stuff out. Even like, having a sports background. Like I'm the guy, I would shake your hand out that I just hit a game winner on you. Yeah. Or you just hit a game winner on me.
By the way, he said next time he saw me, he was going to ball me up, but we don't have a court here. So we'll do that next time.
I didn't see the court out there. Got a little excited. But I've always been a very collaborative person, and I just appreciate partnerships and collaboration and teamwork. I have a coach by the name of Robert Allen. Was my senior high school coach. And it was so silly when we was young and kids at 17 years old, but he was just like really intense. And he would make us, all young boys from the hood and the projects, say this chant to so-called like unite us and bring us together. So at the beginning of it, we thought it was the silliest thing ever. He was a new coach for my senior year. And he would say, so the chant goes, be tough, mean, dedicated, hustle for your teammates, be somebody. And we was like, man, this guy is crazy, right? But we said it every day, every day. And look at me, I'm 43 years old and I still remember that chant. And I always talk about it. So it resonated with me. And so I always think that way, like be tough, be mean, be dedicated, be somebody at the end of the day. And my kids, when you get a chance to meet my sons, randomly walk up to them and say, tell me 5 things you know about yourself. They can say, I'm smart, I'm loved, I'm special, I'm strong, and I'm powerful. Same thing. So I created that because of what I experienced, with my high school coach.
And you grew up in, you were saying before we started this, you grew up in a Democratic household.
Oh, 100%.
So you've seen you've seen all sides of it. What's your stance on what needs to change in this state? I mean, I know we were talking about the housing crisis. We have a homeless crisis, but we also are hemorrhaging businesses out of the state where, to me, when you're leaving the best weather in the nation, right? And the views that we have, and I've always said, you'll drag my dead body out of this city. But even I'm like, am I going to last if this is how it stays?
Right.
What do we need to do to reverse that? What do we need to do to make sure that this is a state that is something we can all be proud of, that we can all grow our businesses, that we don't need to look to Texas, we don't need to look to Idaho, that we can be here for the rest of our lives, loving this state the way that we have?
Well, it does start with leadership and perspective and mindset. I've been saying that for the longest. There has to be intent behind everything that we're doing. You have to want to see California thrive once more. I feel like we're experiencing something right now where I don't feel like leadership wants us to thrive. I feel like we're in a predicament where independence and freedom and liberty is being tested every single day, and we're not actually standing behind innovation in small businesses and entrepreneurs, which has actually been booming up until like these lockdowns for the last couple of years. But I think it's going to take a different brand of leadership, someone who understands business, someone who understands entrepreneurship, but more importantly, someone who understands the importance of those for our state to actually thrive. And someone who has a problem that businesses are leaving our state.
Yeah.
You know, for me to not even talk about or acknowledging that you're frustrated that businesses are leaving is a red flag to me as well, because when more businesses leave, that's jobs, that's our economy, those are resources, that's revenue. And the biggest thing about us, we also have the highest taxes here in our state. And I tell people all the time, if we are going to remedy that and have someone in there to champion for you, it has to be a certain individual who knows how to navigate those waters. And how I know how to navigate those waters is creating new revenue. I have something I'm going to present to the state of California. It's called the Restore California Plan. Within that plan, I'm going to show a comprehensive model of things that we can do to trigger certain actions, which will allow us to sit at the table and truly reduce taxes in California. But it cannot happen unless we are business friendly and understand that new revenue brings us those types of opportunities.
And fiscally responsible, because
100%.
all of us are working hard every single day and paying taxes. And when I see things like $11 billion of our unemployment money going to, prisoners, not even in the state of California, that is something that's really, really hard for me. And I sit here and go, why am I working this hard to pay all this money? I wouldn't mind paying taxes if I knew it was going back to the right places.
Yeah.
But when you know that it's fallen through holes and cracks, that's a really hard thing for most, citizens to understand and take in. What would be the first, major action items that you would take on to help with that fiscal responsibility that we so need in this state?
Well, it has to start with a forensic audit.
Big time. Big time.
You have to know where the landmines are. You have to know where the wasteful spending is. You have to be very transparent. You have to basically.
And part of me thinks they don't want to know that.
Yeah,
they don't want to. They don't want to shine a light on how dirty all that is.
Absolutely, and that's what it's going to take. You can't fight against something that you don't know exists. And being someone who's not beholden to other political affiliations and groups and corporations, I have that free will and range, because I'm not in it for their greed. I'm not in it for their money. I'm not in it for their respect. I'm not in it for their friendships. I'm actually in it to prove a point, to really come in here and be belligerent, to be strong, to be a leader, and to really pull the curtain back so we can all see some of these issues, so-called complex issues, but also put together the actionable items to start solving them. But the first thing has to be a forensic audit, which is different from an actual audit, of course, because that's a way deeper audit, forensic.
But if businesses are running them and nonprofits run every year, like, why are we not doing that as a state? It seems like common sense.
Yeah.
It really does.
We should.
So I have a question about something that, I asked JR before we started filming this whether I should ask you first. He was like, no, just hit him, catch him off guard, see what he says.
Typical JR.
Yeah, right? So blame him. What's your stance on cannabis? We're in a cannabis-friendly state. Cannabis is something that, it seems like federally we're legal, or we're leaning towards, decriminalization, which I'm an advocate, because I think the war on drugs was absolutely racial with intent. I think it was a failure at all levels. I think that it's ridiculous that you have people still sitting in jail for marijuana crimes when you have businessmen making millions of dollars, selling marijuana in 7-Eleven type shops now. What is your stance on that?
When I think about cannabis, I think about opportunity, As we were talking about earlier, I think there's an opportunity, especially when it comes to like tax revenue, which could be diverted for affordable housing. That's one of the ways that we can combat that as well and use those particular models. We know there's billions of money to be made, but we do want to make sure it's done in an appropriate way under restrictions and certain guidelines as well. But I think there's a huge opportunity for our state to truly be embracive of cannabis and that particular industry. And we can do some remarkable things together simply because of the actual revenue as well. So I'm open to it 100%. And I look forward to definitely giving a different outlook or leadership perspective when it comes to that.
I love that. And I think that is, all leaders need to be.
So I'm basically going to use them.
I think all leaders need to be looking at all of these topics in a new light. Like, it can't be the same answer that you answered in 1995.
Absolutely.
Right? Because it's not 1995 anymore.
Absolutely.
So
we have to bridge the gap. So even as an elected official, sometimes it's beyond your personal opinion. You have to go with the consensus of what the people are saying and what they want as well. But if you have an opportunity to, sometimes it may be a trial. So say for instance, some people may not be for it, some people may be against it. I'd be like, hey, for 2 years, let's just open the floodgates and let's, tax them how we can. And we use those funds to be able to create and build. If we deem that is the most horrible thing ever, then we have to revisit it. But if not, we've created this great revenue. We've been able to amend some of the, take up some of the ground on affordable housing. Lives are changing, the economy is changing, and things are thriving. And then we end up saying, hey, it end up working out for us. But at least you have to try versus going off your old traditional ideology of this bad, don't touch this.
1,000% agree. My last question is, we've gone through a year of hell in this state with the pandemic. And I know, people personally that have lost family members. My heart breaks for everyone that's lost anyone throughout this. But I also try to look at both sides, and I look at these businesses that are just struggling. And I think that it's hard for a lot of our political leaders that have never run a business. They don't understand the emotional tie. They don't understand what it is to have that ripped out of your life, that there's worse things in life than death. Like suicide should tell you that, right? And what would you have done differently? What would you do differently in regards to, following the science and, helping protect people, but also making sure that we're looking at the other consequences that come from lockdowns?
Well, the initial thing, so there's two parts to that. What would I have done in the beginning is, I've always said between 9 and 12 weeks would have been a lockdown under my administration as well. Simply because we didn't have enough data, but we did have enough data in regards to the recovery rate and also the demographic that was more so prone to die from COVID. As far as what I would do moving forward, depending on where we are, businesses should be open 100% here in California. I would not choose to tank our economy, but also safely. That's a key. That's a key thing. Leadership has to think about safety of individuals, but I believe in self accountability. I believe that washing your hands and if you choose to wear a mask, that should be your choice. But I don't think people should be ostracized and judged or ticketed and fined and harassed because they choose not to wear a mask. So my leadership would be gravely different from what Governor Newsom has produced thus far. Because I said this all the time, and I don't know if you'll cut this or not, but I feel like a lot of it's been over politicized. And the fact that we're at a place right now where he's feeling the pressure of this recall, all of a sudden, without any data presented to us, now it's okay for outdoor dining and all these things to happen and start up. And so for me, I take it personal. My wife's business hasn't opened up since March 2020. And it's all because of opinionated science. And I'm going to share this perspective. The governor is the most important person here, right?
Yep.
So that means that people report to him. He get true analytics and data reported to him, or he should, right? If this was such the big, bad, scary boogeyman of a virus, there is no way possible, knowing that information, he would ever been at French Laundry without a mask, with other individuals without a mask. You 100%. Understand that philosophy?
I get it.
And when he apologizes, how he apologized was by saying that when I was sitting there, meaning in French Laundry at the table, I was thinking to myself, I should get in my car and go home. What a real leader should acknowledge is that when I was at my house, I was thinking I shouldn't even leave my house. It's already done. Yep. So that tells you that it's all fluff.
It's like the kid that apologizes after they got caught.
There you go.
That's why you're apologizing, because you got caught.
And that's what it represents. Yeah. But this is my thing to him. It's okay.
Yeah.
You're human. You understand what's going on, but you're not sharing the same type of data with us. You want to share fear mongering and have humans judging and fearful of other humans.
And I think that everyone on both sides of that argument in the last month have had some clarity on why we've gone through what we've gone through, because it came out that the state didn't want to share the data and the information. And they said the reason why is they thought that it would confuse people. Well, I'll tell you, I think people are confused about what's been going on. And I don't think it's fair that that's the decision that's made. That,
Yeah.
hey, we're going to keep this data. We're not going to share it with you, but you're going to do what we tell you to do.
And on another note, California is so vast. There should never be a one-size-fit-all solution.
No.
You have different towns.
You can treat San Diego the same as Butte County, and I know you've been up to Butte County.
Yes.
Like it's a different place.
Very different place.
Yeah.
Very different place. But once more, that's misguided leadership.
Yep.
And it's hurtful for our state. And so hopefully I'm hoping that the people acknowledge that they've learned from this particular experience, and we punish him by getting him out of that seat with someone who hasn't been in politics for, forever. And we make it happen.
My last question for you, serious one. How is it puppy life? You got a golden last time I saw you.
Oh my gosh.
Your kids convinced you. What's that like?
Yeah, her name is Journey, and she's a fireball. She just started. She just stopped crying probably like a week or two ago.
Oh yeah,
which was great.
She chewing on your shoes?
No. I got the shoes put away because I'm aware of that trend. I was like, but she's great, man. We got a dog trainer, but she's great. I'm glad I did it. Yeah, they do.
It's good for kids. Teach them work ethic and all those good things.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I love it. Sign me up.
Good. Last question. How can people find you? What can people do to support? Last time I saw you, I donated. I'm going to keep donating because I believe in you. I believe in what you're doing, but you can't do this on your own, right? Yeah. That's what you said. You're like, I'm not going to go get money from big interest groups that are going to try to put me under their thumb. Like, I want to do this the right way. Yeah. And so it has been a true grassroots effort for you, but you can't do it without the community. You can't do it without the people getting behind you. So what can we do to support you? What can we do to help push you forward?
Well, so there's multiple things. One, if you are local, if you're in a certain area and we haven't reached your area yet, reach out to our campaign at Team Major at majorforgovernor.com and set up a fundraiser, a meet and greet. And allow us to come out there and share our vision and also take questions and hear about some of the issues that are going on in your city, in your region. You can get merchandise that helps, be a walking billboard for the campaign. You can also become an ambassador, minimum $5 a month if you want to. Everything helps. But of course, just directly donating to the campaign at majorforgovernor.com. We're at a very interesting place where we have denied certain pharmaceutical companies and certain other individuals that called us with 6-figure checks, and we just said no, because I believe in what we represent. I believe that the momentum that we have created has been people-led, and the foundation of me just standing firmly of being true to my faithful self and being a God-driven person. I haven't changed my messaging one bit, and so it's going to take a lot of people to come forward and to help support this campaign. So donate to the campaign. It helps. It doesn't matter what the amount is, but we have to raise a lot. And, I can be the face of it and a good speaker, but I have to have it a balance in regards to funds coming into this campaign.
So it's majorforgovernor.com.
Yes.
So that's where you guys need to go. That's my ask is please look into what this man stands for. I think if you do, you'll find exactly what I found, that he is the change that we need in this state, and we need change badly. And you can, get online and, post whatever you want to and your frustrations and vent, but that's not going to change anything. Yeah. Action is what changes things, and actually putting action behind words. And so that's why I so appreciate you being here. I'm going to keep telling everyone that I see to sign the recall petitions. Yes. We need to make sure that our politicians are held accountable. There needs to be consequences. If any business owner does what Gavin Newsom's done, they are no longer that business owner, right? Because they get removed and they get replaced. And that's how life works. That needs to be how politics works. And so I just so appreciate you taking the time. I know how busy you are, but thank you. I really do appreciate it.
Absolutely. Let's do it again.
Damn straight. Once you're elected.
Yes.